You have the Boss ES-8, one expression pedal, and a few effects with expression control. How do you control one effect? Switch between effects, control multiple effects at the same time, control an effect that doesn't have an expression input? I'm going to show you. What is up everyone, Man Bun Metalhead here. If you are so emotionally stunted that you can only express yourself through your guitar tone, like and subscribe. Actually, you might want to consider talking to someone about that. We all know what we're here for, so let's just jump right into it. Taking a quick look at how to connect an expression pedal to an effects pedal, you take one of your expression pedal outputs and connect it to the expression input on your effect with a TRS cable. On my pedal board, I have 3 effects with expression inputs, the Strymon Timeline, Mobius, as well as the Boss EQ 200. Setting up a pedal is usually pretty easy. Check out the manual for your effect. I have my timeline set up to change the delay time and the Mobius set up to change the frequency of the chorus. I've set them up this way so you can easily see the input from the expression pedal. You can see with only having one expression pedal, you can only control one effect at a time, and switching between them quickly, like at a gig, is not possible. That's where the ES-8 comes in. Not only can you assign an expression pedal to different effects, but you can disconnect the expression pedal from all your effects when you don't need it. You can even use the expression pedal to control multiple effects at the same time and even control the tempo on the ES-8. First, your expression pedal output will connect to the EXP1 or EXP2 input in the control in section. You can connect up to 2 expression pedals. I should note that the Boss ES-8 manual warns you to only use Boss expression pedals. According to them, other pedals could damage the ES-8. As long as you're not using active expression pedals, you should be fine, but don't say I didn't warn you. To connect your effect pedals, connect the EXP1 or EXP2 outputs from the external control section to the expression input of your effect. You only have 2 expression outputs, but there are ways to control more than 2 pedals, but I'll get into that later on in the video. I should reiterate that you will need to use TRS cables. Now we can get into the interesting stuff, setting up the patches in the ES-8. I'll show you how to set up patches on the ES-8 and in the ES-8 editor. I know I say this in every ES-8 video, but if you haven't used the ES-8 editor, make sure to check it out. It really makes setting up patches on the ES-8 much easier, especially when you're starting from scratch or making a lot of changes. Setting up the expression control parameters can be a little confusing. I was actually completely confused when trying to set up an expression control directly on the ES-8, but hit a light bulb moment when I looked in the ES-8 editor. There are 2 areas in the ES-8 menus for expression control, which is why I got confused. Going into the patch menu and scrolling over, you'll see EXP1 and EXP2. In the ES-8 editor, this is directly under the input section. I thought this is where you'd set up which expression input goes to which expression output. This is not the case. This sets the initial value that is sent to the respective expression output. You'll have options for EXP1, EXP2, and any value in between 0 and 127. If you select EXP1 or EXP2, this will send whatever the expression pedal was set to at the time the ES-8 patch was called. Setting a value of 0 will set your pedal to the heel position, and 127 will set it to the toe position. Any value in between will set it to the relative position between heel and toe. Here in patch 1, I have set the initial values to 23 and 98. In patch 2, they are both set to EXP1. When I select patch 1, the timeline is at 147 milliseconds and the Mobius is at 1.85 Hz. Switching to patch 2, they are set to whatever the expression pedal was at. Back to patch 1 and the values are back to where they were before. I'll move the expression pedal and select patch 2 again, and they're different than they were before. If I plan on using expression input 1 for the given output, I'll set it to EXP1 or EXP2 if I plan to use expression input 2. To actually set what outputs each expression pedal controls, you have to get out of the patch menu, go into the control expression menu, and scroll over to EXPN1 and EXPN2. This is also in the control expression section in the ES-8 editor, with the EXPN1 and 2 being on the bottom right. This will set where the respective expression input will go to. Here you can select off EXP1, EXP2, and BPM. Off obviously does nothing. BPM will set the expression input to control the tempo. You can then set the range between 20 and 500 BPM. Selecting EXP1 or EXP2 will direct the expression input to the respective expression output. You might have caught it, but you cannot set up one expression input to control both expression outputs, but you can set up 2 expression inputs to control one expression output. This seems backwards to me. Don't worry, there are ways to get around that, but of course, we'll get into that in a bit. I've set up 2 patches where the expression pedal switches between the timeline and the Mobius. Patch 3 is the timeline and patch 4 is the Mobius. If you're running into an issue where the polarity of your pedal is reversed, the value is low and in the toe position and high in the heel position, you can change that polarity in the Others menu on the ES-8 or MIDI Others section in the ES-8 editor. Now, that is the easy way to set up expression control. The other option is with assigns. Assigns are powerful, and I have a video where I go way more in depth, so make sure to check that out. To set up an assign on the ES-8, go to the expression control menu and scroll all the way over to the right until you find the assigns. In the ES-8 editor, select the assign 1 through 6 or 7 through 12 buttons. In the editor, you can see 6 assigns at a time, whereas on the ES-8, you can only see 1, and all the settings for each assign are on 4 pages. Here, the ES-8 editor is absolutely the way to go. Before we set up the assign, make sure to turn off our expression input routing. To set up the assign, first turn it on by clicking that box next to the number in the editor or on in the ES-8. Next, we'll select our source, exp1. This is the first expression input. Don't worry about the mod setting in the editor. It's not available on the ES-8. Our target will be external control expression 1. On the ES-8, you'll have to select external control under category, then exp1. This should get you to properly control the expression output, as we can see here. But we do have a little more flexibility with the assigns, so let's get into those. First is the min and max for the target. This will set the expression range sent to the effect pedal. 0 to 127 is the full range, so 54 to 295 milliseconds on the timeline. If you want to decrease that range for whatever reason, you can do that. If I set the low value to 25 and the high to 87, we can see the range on the timeline is narrower. Then we have act low and high. This will set the active range of the expression pedal. 0 to 127 is the full range. Increasing or decreasing the numbers will create dead zones on either end of the expression pedal swing. Setting those to 30 and 90, you can see the value on the timeline isn't changing once you hit a specific spot before the toe and heel positions. What's also nice about assigns is we can set up one expression input to control both expression outputs simultaneously. All you have to do is set up another assign, keeping the source the same and changing the target to expression output 2. You can also set up the expression input in the control expression menu to control one output and an assign to control the other. Either way will work. There is another way to control an effect pedal with expression, even if it doesn't have an expression input, and that is over MIDI. Obviously, this does require the effect pedal to have MIDI control capabilities. If you're not familiar with MIDI, I do have a video explaining how to connect and use MIDI with the ES-8, as well as a general overview of what MIDI is and how it can be used for guitarists, so make sure to check those out. We'll control the effect pedal over MIDI with a control change. You'll need the manual for your effect pedal to find what parameters are assigned to what control change numbers. For the timeline, the time is CC number 3, with a range from 0 to 127. For the Mobius, the speed is CC 17, also with a range from 0 to 127. I've disconnected the expression inputs to these pedals, so we're definitely controlling these with MIDI. In the assign menu, we'll turn our assign on and select exp1 as the source. The target we set to MIDI. The channel or CH will be 1 for the timeline and the CC number is 3. Let's set the min to 20 and the max to 100. This will limit our time range slightly. I'll leave the act low and high at the limits so we have full range in the expression pedal. Now we can see our time is changing with the expression pedal and the expression input on the timeline is not connected. We'll set up another assign for the Mobius using MIDI. Once that is set, we can see the expression pedal controlling the time and speed simultaneously via MIDI. What's nice about expression control over MIDI is you can control effect pedals that don't have expression inputs. For instance, this gives me the option to control my Silver Lake reverb if I wanted to. I can also control more than 2 pedals, which is a constraint with the physical expression outputs. Expression over MIDI can even give you access to other parameters not available using normal expression control. The only downside I can see is that setting the mins and maxes of the assign will take some tweaking. Normally you'll adjust the knob to set the expression control. With this, you don't necessarily know what a value of 45 will be on any parameter in your effect pedal, but once you have it set up, you're good to go. Well, that's everything I know about expression control with the ES-8, and that should give you enough tools to do some damage. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments. Also, let me know what kind of expression control setups you are rocking, and don't forget to like and subscribe. But hey, until next time, rock on.